Krista Moser here. Today I get to show you my brand new pattern. This is Dancing Dahlias. Now I designed this one to be kind of a stash scrap buster quilt because each flower has 4 different shades, but you don't need very much of each one. So what I thought I would walk you through is some of the cuts, how easy it is to do, and we'll talk a little bit about color as well. So what I've got here, I'll start with the purple one, and these are 4 different shades of purple. Now this is something I like to do in mimicking nature a little bit. In this case, flowers. I like to do lots of shades within the same color because I think it adds some depth. And so that's what I've done here with these 4 different shades. You'll see I have kind of 2 darker ones and then 2 lighter ones. And what I did is I did my darker ones as the center petals to look like they kind of pop out at you. And then I chose the lighter ones to be sort of the back petals to kind of layer in some color. So we'll start with the darker ones. Those are our center petals. And here's something else that I like to do. I like to open my strips to a single layer and press the crease out of the middle and cut through a single layer. Now, this might not seem like a big deal, but in some cases when we're cutting angles, you start your cuts going down your strip and you'll get 1 extra cut because it's opened up. Now if the strip is folded in half, you end up with this sort of awkward shape in the middle. Once you get your cuts done, you go to open the middle section. It might not be enough for an extra cut. So this actually maximizes your fabric. And if you like to use up stash and scraps, that might be a very good thing. So I open my strips to a single layer and I have them pretty side up. And I'm stacking 2 layers right on top of each other. So these are the 2 darker shades. These are 3.5-inch strips. Now, I am using the brand new Creative Grid 60-degree tiny ruler. You can see how tiny it is. It's a 3.5-inch ruler. If you already own the mini ruler, which is a 4.5-inch ruler, you can do all these same cuts with that. But I'm using the tiny because this is the first pattern that I've written exclusively for the tiny. All the shapes can be cut with this itty-bitty guy. So here he is, just the same width as the strip, 3.5 inches, the whole diamond. So that's what we're going to do. Now, it's 2 layers, so I'm going to do 3 cuts like this because each flower has 6 petals in the middle. So we'll just do 3 of each, and I'll go ahead and cut down the back side here and nip off one of the tips. Now, picking up the ruler and moving it on down, I just need to cut on one side and nip off the tip, and then the 3rd cut, this gets us 6 cuts total, going through 2 layers. Okay, that's good. I'll set this aside. So here's the trick. We've got diamonds here, but we need to turn them into petals, which means we need to turn them into kind of a jewel shape, so that they can also get this yellow hexagon in the middle. So we've cut a whole diamond. Now if I just take this ruler and I rotate it, just like this, there are hexagon lines on this ruler, as there are on the mini ruler, but we're just going to follow the 3.5-inch hexagon line. So that's basically the whole middle of the ruler. So all I did was just rotate it, quarter turn like this, and I'm just going to lop off this right corner. By rotating it and then centering the 3.5-inch hexagon. These are white dashed lines across the top and bottom. It also has 2.5-inch hexagons and 1.5-inch hexagon markings. But we're just going to use the 3.5. And this gets you petals. Your inner petal. Just like that. Okay, so here we have these petals in alternating shades. How cute. But they need this little yellow triangle. So I actually already cut some of those. They were cut from a strip. So you can imagine, if you've seen some of my other videos, how I cut triangles going down a strip. It's something like this. Your top cuts, bottom cuts, you know, coming in from the top and bottom. So these little triangles get added to your petals. So just like this, to create a whole diamond shape again. But now this time the diamond is part purple and part yellow in the middle. And you probably already noticed that I nipped the outside tips off these triangles, creating a triangle with 3 flat tips. And the reason for that is when you go to piece it, you have these perfect match-up points. You're going to sew your 1/4 inch seam here and press that out, just like that. So I've already done that step. So let me grab those and show you how the center of these flowers come together for their jewel shapes. So here they are all sewn on there. So I've got my darker shades, 2 and 2, different colors, or 3 and 3, like that. Now for the back petal. So this part's kind of fun. These are actually just rectangles. So we've done some fancy cuts with these 2 shapes here, but these are just rectangles, and all it is, cut from 3.5-inch strips again. I took my 2 lighter shades, so that's these ones here, and I went ahead and cut rectangles, and we're going to alternate those with your background. So whatever you've got as your background, blue sky, and they just get alternated going down into a strip set sewn together, something like this. So I actually did that sewing, and I'll show you the cuts because it's very tricky in a good way. So we've got these strip sets sewn together in the 2 lighter shades. So I've got my light one and my sort of medium dark. The first one you're going to do, we'll start with the light one here. So setting this up, I also press my seams open. That keeps for very flat intersections when it comes to piecing this with the next thing, and also your ruler doesn't rock around when you've opened your seams like that and pressed them out flat. So here I am. I'm going to start with the first section here. I'm going to use the triangle ruler, or the triangle lines on the ruler, to get these first cuts. So here I place the ruler down with the large hole of the ruler up here towards the top. I've got a 3.5-inch triangle line coming across the bottom, and then the ruler has a black center line. And this is a solid black line. So it goes right up the middle of the ruler, and I'm placing that right smack on that seam. So what I'm going to get when I cut is a triangle that's purple on one side and blue on the other. And I'm starting at the bottom of the strip. So my 3.5-inch line is at the bottom of this strip. Now that's going to be important because when I get to this one, I'm going to start from the top. So my triangle starts from the bottom coming up, and this one I'm going to start from the top coming down. And that will make a difference when it comes to our layout. So here we are, and I'm just cutting on either side, and then I'm using this outside edge to nip those tips off. So here's a triangle where it's got purple and blue. Turn the ruler. Now I'm lining it up on the top, 3.5-inch line. The solid center line comes down the seam. There's very little waste in doing things this way. And just nip and nip. Turn the ruler, 1 more cut from the bottom. You would get 6 cuts down this strip set, but I'm just going to show you 1 more here. And you need 6 in each color for the whole flower. And what this gets you, see, very little waste. 3 triangles that are exactly the same. Bing, 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 just like this. All right, I'll set this aside. Now for the second color. This is the dark one, or darker one. Now I'm coming in from the top. So my 3.5-inch line lines up across the top first, not the bottom like last time. So it comes across the top and it's pointing down towards me with the solid black line right down the seam. And then we're going to trim and trim. Now I turn it right across the bottom, and now it comes up the seam, that solid black center line. Okay, and 1 more. This is great for using up scraps because you can tell you can get a lot out of a little bit of fabric by doing it this way. Okay, so here you see these triangles all look the same. They're purple on the left and blue on the right. So basically we have kind of a mirror image here where we've got purple facing each other and blue facing out. And that's going to be important when we get to the next step. So we'll take these purple middle petals, and they each get this one on the left. This is for the visual. And this one on the right. Set those aside. So we're going to build these units just like this, and blue at the top edge, so it's facing up and out away from the flower. You're going to do 6 units like this. So that's your whole flower petal. And what we're going to do is sew this first seam here, press it in towards the flower petal, and then sew this seam here and press it out. And that gives you a nesting advantage when we go to add these together. So here you see the visual of both the darks with their kind of wing units or background units combined with the back petals. So what does it look like to put 6 of these out? Well, I'm glad you asked because I have them right here. So if you're doing your whole flower, you've done 6 units just like that. And here's how it looks when you go to lay them out, alternating. It's like magic. Just like that. There's your whole flower block in one. So you're going to sew these together as 2 halves. In order to avoid Y seams or any tedious piecing, this is the best way to do it. You essentially treat it like 3 triangles and 3 triangles. Sewing the first seam, press it open, sewing the second seam. Press it open, now you have half done. And then you're going to do the bottom side, same way. First seam, press it open, and second seam, press it open. And you've probably noticed, looks like there's going to be a hole in the middle. That's because we use these flat tips to remove all the excess bulk. When cutting, if you use the flat tip to remove the points, what happens is you sew this seam and it takes up all that excess, but now there's no bulk in the middle. So when these two come together, there's no hole, but there's also not this bulky center where you've got 6 different pieces of fabric stacked up on top of each other. It's just gone. So it makes it really flat and a seamless kind of coming together. So that's how the basic flower block works. Then you do one final seam down the middle, and I actually have one in pink that's ready for that next step. So you can kind of see here, isn't that pretty? Where this one is going to get one final seam coming down the middle. So very simple to do. Here again, sort of darker colors in the front, lighter colors in the back to give you the layered color. And then eventually you'll have a whole lot of these. So here's the turquoise block coming in where it's already sewn together. Now here's the thing, when you're going to assemble a quilt that is basically hexagon blocks, hexagons meeting hexagons either require Y seams or they require a little triangle unit to finish it off, so you don't have to do Y seams. If you know any of my other patterns, you know I'm not really big on tedious piecing, and so I did just that, a triangle block that is actually the leaf units. So let me grab some of those and I'll show you how these blocks work together. Let me clear off some space here. Work together to create rows without having to do any of that kind of tedious piecing. So if you could think here, this would be a row. And you see we've got these gaps. So we're going to put our flower blocks, bing, 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 down like this, but we've got these gaps, these triangle gaps. Well, here are the leaf blocks. So I went with just a diamond for the leaf. So that's the whole size of the ruler, you can see. And then a blue triangle of background to match. So here we have these leaves. Now these leaves fit in just like this. And you can turn them any direction because they are equal on all sides. So you could turn them to meet each other or you could turn them away from each other. I like to kind of make them touch quite a few times, like little bow ties. Make me one out here, and like that. And you'd sew them this way. So instead of just doing hexagons to each other, now what you do is you do a hexagon flower, you sew a leaf unit to each side, creating a bigger diamond unit, and that creates the units that go into rows. So you're just finishing off with diagonal seams. Easy, easy piecing. It's no big deal to do that kind of thing. And look, you get this complicated look. Breaking it down, simple stuff. Just a few of these cuts. They're all kind of on the small side, so perfect for scraps. And this is a really, really fun pattern to do. You'll get addicted to doing these blocks one after another. Okay, so the pattern is Dancing Dahlias. Here you see it. Now the pattern comes as a printed one, just like this, or a PDF download. So you can get either version, and you see it's fully illustrated in color, in the colors that I used. As a matter of fact, if you don't have a big stash and you want the colors that I used, I actually did some kits. Of course I did, right? You guys always ask. So here are the kits that we put together with the fabrics that I used for my version. So like I said, each flower takes 4 shades. So I went ahead and I gathered up 4 shades of fuchsia. So these are for the darker pink ones. There's 4 shades of this coral pinky orange. Then we've got the 4 shades of turquoise. There's 4 shades of darker yellow, and then the 4 shades of lighter yellow for like daisies. Then we've got 4 shades of the light pink, 4 shades of the purple, and then 3 shades of the green for your leaves, including the check for the middle of the flower, so the yellow check, and then the blue background sky. So isn't that fun? So we did put together these bundles in case you wanted one that just looked just like mine. And we've also done something with the bundle and the purchase of the tiny ruler. You get the pattern for free. So we've got a bundle. I'll put a link to it in the description box below this video. If you want that, where it's basically you get this and this, and then the pattern is free in that kind of a deal. So it's going to be its own thing. Of course, we'll have the patterns and or the tiny ruler and or the kits all on their own. So I think that's everything. Thanks for watching.